Sit back, relax, put your belt on, enjoy the show.
All right, so Super Rugby Aotearoa round 8 on the bye are the Hurricanes. So this first matchup, actually a Friday night game, is the Landers versus the Blues. Harry, do you want to take us in this one?
Yeah, why not? New injuries. So injuries from the weekend just gone. Connor Garden-Bashop confirmed now he's broken his wrist, so he's gone for the season. You got Peri Peri Chicken hobbled off for his ankle injury. So the coach has said that they're crossing their fingers that the scans are good news for them, but they don't have the results yet. But they're realistically not expecting him to be back for a little while. So even if he's a mid-grade ankle injury, he's still, bare minimum 4 weeks, more like 6 weeks. So I don't think we're going to see him again for Aotearoa.
Yep.
Returning on this one, there's no one actually coming back from injuries that we had listed. I thought maybe Patrick Tuipulotu and Kurt Eklund were the chances, but Kurt Eklund, I don't know what the bloke's done wrong.
Named.
I frothed on him. I know they've been named, but I frothed on him last year. He's
he was
back
so
from
good.
the 3-week ban this week, and they've got two bum hookers. And he can't even get into 23. Like, what is going on? Has he been going to the bloody Joshua Air freaking parties or something?
Must be good parties then.
Yeah, 100% it must be if you're going from freaking Auckland. But Patrick Tuipulotu as well. I mean, we're hoping that he'd be fit, but he's still out injured as well. So big one there. The other one I wanted to name is with on the locks is Sam Darry. So we did our hot shit previews at the start of the year. Yeah, that's the one. And we got actually called out. One of the Kiwi supporters said to us, you should really have mentioned Sam Darry. He's a young lock that deserves a lot of praise and he's up and coming. And I kind of went, yeah, but let's be honest, he's not getting anywhere near the side. Well, for the second week in a row, Sam Darry is starting in front of Josh Goodhue. So it shows what we know. He's a very, very good young lock. I like the look of him.
Yeah, he was pretty promising. Can't wait to see more, actually.
Yeah, and what about you, Noobum? It's force of habit. Sorry, mate. How do you feel about the back row balance in the Blues? So obviously this week you got Tommy Robinson captaining again, which means Akira Ioane is on the bench.
It's obviously I'm an Akira owner, and it hurts to see him on the bench once again. I don't get it. I still think Akira's got Robinson. But when Robinson's always played, he's always had a cracker game. So I get it. But his interview, actually, his post-match interview, Robinson's, that was gold. I'm not sure whether you boys saw it.
I did.
He was doing the old all the cliches about the spreads and kudos to the boys and all that sort of stuff. So he must have the dressing room, and he leads by example. So I get it.
Yeah. No, look, I think he's great. Really good to see him. I think really grasped that leadership role with him. He was talking to his other leaders, and I think he was quite dominant on the field with his voice for them, which was definitely important. And it's going to be good to see moving forward. Look, we've got this week starting at halfback. We've got Jonathan Ruru. So we've got Finlay Christie on the bench. Sam Knox started last week. Who do you think's their starting choice at halfback?
I like Finlay Christie personally. I think he's pretty solid. Ruru's obviously there or thereabouts.
Yep.
But my preference is Christie, to be honest.
I thought he'd established himself by the back half of last season. We said in our preview last year that we thought he would come through and be the first choice. And I think he did that. I think by the second half, he definitely had established himself. And then he started this year injured and gave a sniff to Ruru and Knock. We know Ruru's incredibly fit. I think he's just behind Bodie Barrett's record at the Blues there for his Bronco test as well. But they might be hardworking, but Finlay Christie's got by far the best service.
Are we missing something? Was he actually injured last week? Because he went from starting to not even being in the 23, and it's like he's working his way back in again.
Yeah, I mean, the Blues actually, to be fair, don't give a lot of information about their injuries. So it's very possible that maybe he's just had a bit of an overload grumble or something like that. He's gone back as he's come back from his injury, because he did miss the few weeks before that as well. So, yeah, look, it's a possibility, but we're just in the dark and it just makes no sense. But let's hope that that's the case, because I would like to see him get some continued game time with Finlay Christie at 9 and whoever ends up being the actual good fly half for the Blues in the future.
Yep.
Very cool. And for the Highlanders, we get to see Aidan Johnson, who's just coming back from injury. He gets his start over Ethan de Groot, who actually I think is pretty solid. But he's back. Josh Dixon comes in for Peri Peri Chicken, and obviously very handy replacement and a solid fantasy lock.
On those two, I think Aidan Johnson obviously had that really long-term concussion, and I reckon that they just see him as I think this is his third game back now, so he had 2 off the bench. I think they must see him as a better scrummaging prop. Ethan de Groot has been really great in his work rate around the park, but the Highlanders have had a pretty shonky scrum. So I think surely that they've brought him in to try and shore that up.
Solidifies it. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
And then we see Corey Worthington, party boy Josh Ioane starting at 15 for the injured Connor Gunn batshit. So
someone's got to make a meme of that, surely. Place Ioane's head on Corey Worthington.
I love that he's taken the blame, but there were like 5 other players as well mentioned.
It's his house, mate.
It's his house.
It was his house. Yeah, right. Okay, fair enough.
The ringleader,
Well,
he deserves it.
I hope he had a crack at time, Josh.
Look, I'm sure he did.
And yeah, we see. I love Michaeli Tu'u. I absolutely love him. Had the best year last year. Is this his week coming off the bench? We don't know. What do you fellas reckon?
I just think he's due. He's too good a player to have the year that he has. And I mean, he's only going to get so many chances this year. Himeno is establishing himself at the moment at number 8. To be fair, I don't think Himeno was as good last week as he was when he came off the bench to start the game. I think he's had 2 starts and not had nearly the same impact. So I think there's definitely an argument to be had at the moment that Himeno should be on the bench or starting at lock as a bit of an impact player. And Michaeli Tu'u should be the starting number 8 because he's just too good a player. As we said a couple of weeks ago, he was our pick for this, along with Hoskins Tutu, right up there to be the starting All Blacks number 8.
Yeah,
he was one of the top picks for our draft as well this year.
I think the thing about him is he's just yet to show that consistency. I mean, even at times last year, yes, maybe Tutu did something similar, but he was very good at parts, and at parts he went missing. And that's probably just showing his inexperience and the fact that he is quite young. So, I mean, the thing is, if you want him to build that experience and get back into his form, he actually has to get game time. You can't just bring him on in small minutes off the back end. You have to give him a chance. And look, Himeno, has he played 2 games to start?
I thought so.
I was thinking it could be 1. That might be my mistake. But look, I think it's not bad for him to get another crack at that 8 jersey. But I mean, it's only a matter of time before Michaeli Tu'u gets another crack.
Well, the interesting thing on that point is, though, Michaeli Tu'u, Hoskins Tutu, Harry Wilson, all these guys that have had barnstorming seasons at number 8, they're not making the same impact carrying the ball. Don't get me wrong, Harry Wilson.
He had a cracker game last week.
He had a cracker game.
Second half.
Compared to last year, I think he's had a very quiet season. He still works hard. But he still makes a lot of tackles and a lot of runs. But they were breaking tackles, making line breaks, throwing people off. There is no number 8, with the exception of, at the odd time, Artie Sevilla, who even on his own standards has looked a little tired and lackluster.
How dare you? How dare you say that about him?
Mate, I'm a big Artie Sevilla fan, but you know what's true. Like he hasn't been throwing players around like he has other seasons. So I just don't see them having that attacking role this year. The defense has got their number.
Look, I think it's something, that second-year syndrome gets talked about a lot. And I think we touched on it early on in this season with some of these young back rowers. They had just enormous rises into
breakout
level that they were last year. But, I mean, you look at someone like Will Harris. Am I saying the right one? Harry Wilson. You've confused me now. Harry Wilson, right? We know he's not good at that little shift of movement side to side and getting away from a shoulder of a defender. So last year, he was just balls deep into contact and super keen for it. People now know he's coming, and he has to add that little bit of variance into his running lines, has to do something a little bit more to have the same impact. And I think it's the same as some of these other guys we're talking about. Mickey Tu'u, mind you, I don't think he's had as much of a chance this year, but to be as dominant in your second year as a dominating ball runner, you actually have to add something else.
Well, how have we gone so far down the Akira Ioane at 6 role now that he can't play 8? Hoskins Tutu hasn't been that good this year.
Yeah.
Akira, why don't they just put him at 8? Give him the run. He can play 6 and 8. We know that. He's worked his work rate out. Why is he not starting? He's the freaking All Black 6.
I do agree.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm ranting about something.
We are.
The big question for you guys. So which Highlanders are going to show up? Is it the ones that absolutely smack the Crusaders, or is it the ones that looked on par with the Chiefs? What do we reckon?
Look, I'm happy to take my pick first here, and it might be different. I'm not sure, but I think we're going to see the guys that were on par with the Chiefs. I think them beating the Crusaders was a standout game from them, and a lot of guys wanting to stake their claims on those jerseys, and a lot happened in that week, and it was a very emotional start and really strong start from them. But I just don't think we've seen enough of this from them to assume it's going to happen week in, week out.
Yeah, I think they lost a little bit with the change in their centers, especially at 12 and 13, which, it was two completely different players a couple of weeks ago against the Crusaders. Scott Gregory, I don't think he's had quite enough time in the saddle to play inside center for them. And Theo Tompkinson's all of a sudden playing outside when he hasn't for a couple of years as well. So there's a lot of change in that side, which makes it really hard. So I tend to agree. I think that the Blues are the more settled team. I think they'll probably take advantage, and I'm going to pick the Blues by 9.
Oh, I was thinking somewhere similar. I was thinking 10.
I think it's going to be a touch closer than that, being in the Glass House. I'm going to say I think it's going to be a closer one. The Blues by about 3.
Yep, sounds good.